Ananya and Navya, thanks very much for joining us. And before I could even start thinking about this session, everybody was like, your first question has got to be, what the hell, Navya?
I don't know how to answer that question. It's more of a statement. But thank you so much for having me here. Really happy to be here with you and Ananya, meeting her for the first time, but have admired what she's been doing for a while. So really grateful to be here with the both of you.
So, you know, you've been doing this show that has put your mum and your grandmum in the spotlight. What is the secret story? When you get done, are they like, why did you ask us that? How can you use the term jayaing? How do you say it?
Jayaing.
Okay, I got that right.
She didn't know what it meant either, so we, we explained that to her. She wasn't very happy with the definition, but I mean, it's been a really fun experience doing this with them, so much that we've learned about each other over the last 2 seasons, and especially this one. Always very unfiltered, always very opinionated, if you know the 3 of us. But I think that's how we wanted to keep it. We wanted to keep it as natural as possible and as organic as we could. So I hope that, people enjoy that side of us.
So this is a household which is not unfamiliar with cameras. Are they more opinionated off the camera or on the camera?
I mean, I think I was the person who was the least experienced in front of the camera this time. But I think we've never really shied away from voicing our opinions on and off camera. So I think that's just who we are.
Fantastic. Well, Ananya, you're breaking many records and also making some really amazing choices that most women in your generation may have been fearful of making them. In the English music genre, leading songs that are sort of hitting, out of the park, literally. Where did all of these choices come onto the table and how come? This is not the path people thought Ananya Birla would follow.
So firstly, it's a pleasure being here. Thank you so much, ABP News. It's a pleasure, Shirley, as always. And Navya, I've really looked up to everything that you do. In fact, like I told you, I just watched the last episode of your podcast, and we finally meet on a stage, but it's lovely regardless. How do I take that question? I think from a very young age, I just realized that life is really short to not do what you truly love to do. And I think the turning point came when I went to university at Oxford, and I was reading economics and management. And I spent a 1.5 years there, and during that time, I went through a little bit of a tough phase with my mental health. And I started gigging in cafes and pubs and clubs in and around London, Brixton, Camden. And during that time, I realized that I was just so happy. It was very cathartic, writing my own music, singing. And I just said, what's the worst that can happen? I don't want to have any regrets. And that's basically where the whole music thing started from, the whole business thing, I started Swatantra before I even went in my gap year actually, when I was 17, before I went to university. And I think that love for business I don't know whether it's in my blood or I just love it. So now it's all about balancing these 2 worlds, really. So I think that's where...
What about it? How is it to balance those 2 worlds? They're so different.
Yeah, it's
microfinance and music, for those of you who are still trying to figure those 2, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, but also not hard. It's hard in the sense that there are 2 very different parts of the brain that are at work. But funnily, there is a lot of business in music, and there's a lot of creativity in business. So there is a lot of synergy as well. It's just that I have to show up in a different way, and that's what sometimes I need to just adjust in my brain. The way I show up for a show in front of 20,000 people is very different from the way I show up at something like this. And even though both are very me, they're different parts of me. And that's what I'm still learning to do, Anis.
That's brilliant, because very few people, at least in the last few generations, have been able to take 2 different ideas and find the common thread. But more importantly, carry your very, very heavy, lofty names with so much ease and confidence and say, I am doing things differently. So I love that. Congratulations to the 2 of you for making that happen. I said congratulations and none of you clapped. Okay. Just before I delve down into the specific areas of your work, I just want you to talk about the privilege and the pressures of having a surname. Given that you have already established yourself outside of the family name.
I think for me, when people talk about, a surname or carrying forward a legacy, I really believe that everyone has a last name, Everyone has a responsibility to carry their last name forward or carry their legacy forward, no matter what field you come from or what background you come from. So I, of course, am doing my part in taking that name forward and doing the best that I can to, make my family proud, make myself proud in the ambitions that I have for myself as a young woman. But I think when we speak of privilege, I think that I would give credit to where I am today, to that. I don't think I would be where I am sitting on this stage talking to everyone here if I didn't come from the family that I came from, because I got given a lot of opportunities at a very young age that, most other girls my age don't get. And for me, it's always been important to use those opportunities to the best of my abilities to create the most that I can, not just for myself, but for others as well. And that's something I've tried to do, and I hope that I have been successful in doing that. Yeah. But yeah, I would definitely give credit to where I am today professionally, and personally, maybe in a lot of ways to, I owe that to where I come from and my family.
Fair. Ananya?
I completely agree with Navya. I think I would be nowhere without my last name. Not just because of the last name Birla, but because of my parents, my family, my friends, and my team. I think I would be nothing without them. And that's just the truth of the matter, I think. I work very, very hard. I love what I do. But I would be nothing without them. And more than that, I would just be really sad without them, honestly. And I said this on one of my Instagram, AMAs as well. I think initially, there was a lot of guilt that I felt being born in privilege. Why do I deserve this? And slowly but surely, I think I've been able to refine my own skill sets and try to show up every day for myself in a way that I feel proud of. I think at the end of the day, all of this really boils down to identity, right? And as long as we feel good in ourselves and what we are doing, and we feel like we are adding to the legacy, I think I'm in a safe place. Also, I think it's a huge blessing. It's a huge, huge blessing. Yeah, I hope that, like Navya said, I hope that I can contribute a minuscule amount to what my forefathers have and may impact people and make myself better and hopefully make the world a little better.
Great. Having talked about that, I want you to both to pick up things that you said in the course of these answers. So one of them was this whole, this conversation about taking time off and sort of thinking about music and, doing things that matter to you and mean to you. This is also about the generation that you both are in. They want to be true to themselves. This morning in one of his keynotes, I think Adidep mentioned that social, wokeness is the social currency of this generation. But what is it that's making you constantly go back and say, you know what, I want to give back, I want to do this for myself, and I also want to do it in the now. Talk to us about how your generation sees some of these things. It's you first. Which one's going first?
You can take it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, please take it. You want me to?
No, I'll go for it. See, I think for me that's a tough question because I work in the development sector. So for me, all the work that I do is primarily impact-driven or centered around giving back. I think that's a moral choice. I think it's an individual choice. For me, I personally believe that we have a responsibility to leave society better than we found it. Yeah. And in whatever way we can do that, it doesn't have to be on a larger scale, it could be on very small things. But if we are able to do that in some shape or form in our life, I think that's what, at least for me, is a moral obligation.
Is this closer to the identity that you're searching? Ananya was talking about identity. So when you see yourself as somebody who works in the development sector, less so as somebody who's seen in, page 3 or the front pages of newspapers.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, again, I think the last 3 years have been pretty much about, you know, creating that impact. And like Ananya said, I think there's so much that, you know, our parents, our grandparents have done before us. And I think that I at least feel a personal level of responsibility with the kind of work that has been done before me and the kind of work that maybe I would want to continue taking forward.
Yeah.
I think even as, you know, if we talk about the surname, I think from both sides of my family, a lot of it has been giving, right, to the people in different shapes or forms, whether it's in the form of entertainment, whether it's in the form of business, you know, through making tractors. I think we've been a family that has always believed in giving. So I think that's just me creating a different identity for myself in the way that I'm giving back, but I think still carrying forward that message or that you know, legacy of always giving to others.
Yeah. For those of you who are still catching up on Navya's business side, she's very involved in the escorts business, the tractors business. She spent a large amount of time last year going to her dealerships to see how exactly this business works after their recent merger come acquisition in India. Well, Ananya, you know, you just gave us a little insight into the fact that you were 17 when you started Swatantra. And I still remember some of our previous conversations were so focused on why this microfinance business was so important. Today we're talking after you've done this mega acquisition of Chaitanya. And it's being talked about not just in the circles within microfinance, but how important an acquisition this is to scale the mission that you've started. So talk to us a little bit about that work.
Absolutely. I think I founded Swatantra when I was 17, and it's just been 12 years a couple of days ago. And while building Swatantra, however cliche this sounds, I think I became Swatantra during that process. I think the naive 17-year-old, I think I saw in our society, I saw that women didn't have freedom to do what they wanted to do because they were not financially independent. So either she was under the care of her father, and then she gets married, and then it's her husband's choice. And I realized that as soon as a woman becomes financially stable by herself, individually, of course there are a lot of other pressures which I can't take away from, but there's a little bit more leeway that she gets to make her own choices. So when I started Swatantra, the entire idea was, and that's why the name Swatantra, freedom, is how can I make women financially independent? Because I've seen this, I mean, in my close family, I've seen it in the Marwadi community, and it really, part of me, it boils my blood, but I also understand the roots of it, and you know, it's very complex, right? So I wanted to contribute to that element of things as well. So that was where the idea germinated from. So basically what we do is we lend small loans to women to start their own business. So they become job givers, right? And they repay us back with principal and interest. So we aren't helping them in any way, and this is what I've said from day one, right? Swatantra is a very profitable business. So it's just that we're providing loans to people who a bank would not, because they don't have any physical collateral. And that's when I came up with this idea of social collateral, is where they all take social, if I don't repay, all the other women in the group have to repay for me. So there's social pressure, right? However, now, since the last 5-6 years, the entire mission is that we finance individuals in semi-urban and rural India, and these are the individuals, given how large our macros are in India, these are the individuals that actually fuel our economy. Yeah. So at Swatantra, our vision and our mission, our vision is really to fuel the Indian economy. And the acquisition of Chaitanya makes us, gives us an AUM of about 14,000 crores, and we stand as the second largest microfinance institution in India. I started with 5 crores. Thank you. One last thing I would like to say is that the team that joined me when I was 17, many of them left very reputed organizations like ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, and the list goes on. They joined a girl at 17 who just had a vision, nothing else, and obviously a last name, I guess, makes a difference. But they took that risk on me, and my leadership team is exactly the same 12 years down. All of them have stuck by me. And that shows the importance of having a loyal team. They stood by me through thick and thin. They stood by me when people said she's too young. They stood by me through everything. So that just reiterates again that I would be nothing without the people around me.
I think they would put it this way, that they had belief in the idea as well. So congratulations for putting it all together. Well, let's switch gears. Gen next and love. You know, Chetan Bhagat was here in this seat a little while ago talking to Kiara Advani, and they were discussing relationships, situationships, and everything that comes on those ships. So let's talk about this. Where are you on this definition of love as our DMs, as our Insta reminds us that now it's possibly definition-less?
I mean, it's obviously individual, it's personal to people. I think for me, love is not always romantic. I think there are different forms of love, and I think, grown to understanding that now. I think, you know, there's love that you share with your family, with your friends, with your work, and that's the one that I'm closest to, at least at this point in my life, where...
That's a very politically correct answer, Navya. I'm asking for the love that comes around our Instagram profiles.
No, that is love from people who, you know, either appreciate your work or for people who follow you for what you do. But it's a genuine answer, because I think I'm in this place in my life right now where love for me is in doing what I'm doing every day. And I think that is where all my energy is fueled into. Of course, having said that, I think I can't speak for the rest of my generation, but I do feel that, you know, we are a lot more aware of what we want or what we're looking for. I think we question things, which is great, because maybe we didn't do that before. Yeah. You know, we don't just take yes or no for an answer. We question why that is the answer given to us. And I think that's a great quality in this generation. And I really feel that the potential that the youth in India has, whether it comes to love or just otherwise, I think is immense. And I hope that, you know, we are continue to given the platforms to ask those questions or have those conversations. Yeah. So I really appreciate you calling us here, or, you know, calling me here at, you know, 26 to come and share my views. It just shows that, you know, we are coming to a place in society where the youth matters and our voices matter.
Tell me something, is there a side of the next generation, because of the access to information and the attention, as well as the lack of attention span, let me put it that way, is making one confused and lost?
Do you want to share?
So the question is that, well, I didn't get the question,
yeah,
that everything has become short format.
That is right in every single way, right? And many would say, has love become short format?
Okay, right. I think it's very individualistic. I think, you know, we all have our different wants and needs. I think there's a lot more, like I told you backstage, in my opinion, I think there's so much more option right in front of us, whether that's on the apps, whether that's on Instagram. People are more available and accessible, rather. And so instead of having to, you know, drive to someone or literally put someone's number in and, you know, it's just like a double tap. And so what happens, I think, is with more option, our brains sort of get confused. I mean, it's confusing. There's more option, so there's more, if there's more option, opportunity cost is higher, which means that, oh my God, am I making the right choice? See, if I don't have any choice, I'm happy. I don't have a choice, I'm doing it, right? More option means there's more sort of pressure on making the right decision. And I personally didn't realize, but that, I think, brings a lot of anxiety. As a generation, we're very, very, like, I personally, I've sort of figured ways to manage it well now, and I'm okay now, but I had a phase where I was very anxious myself. And I think a lot of this comes from decision anxiety, because there's so much out there, there's so much content, there's so much option, that our brains are always overwhelmed with choice. And like you said, everything's so short format now that we get like a dopamine hit. And suddenly going for a walk in nature doesn't feel as exciting, because I want to be back on my phone and get that dopamine hit. And so it's so important to really regulate our nervous systems. I know I'm going into a completely different topic, but it's so important to get dopamine in the right way. So whether that is sunlight, that's meditation, exercise.
You know, I love the honesty and the candor with which you mention some of these, but I want to put some questions back in the context of what Ananya said. As you are conscious of these issues, are you making special efforts to steer away from them as young people?
Yeah, I think going off what she said, I think when you are talking about social media and when we're talking about just the environment that we live in today, I think especially for young people, it's very competitive, right? There's so many of us striving for the same job, trying to get into the same college, trying to start the same businesses. And I think social media in itself has largely, at least for me, this is something I see, people are constantly talking about their successes, right? No one's talking about their failures. So when you look at your life in perspective to someone else who's posting on LinkedIn about a job that they've just gotten, and though you could be doing your bit in your life and doing well in your life, there's this constant sense of comparison, right? Of, am I doing enough? Like exactly what she said, and that decision isn't, doesn't always necessarily have to be personal, it can be professional as well. Like, I open my Instagram and I see 100 things, and I'm like, am I doing enough? Am I working hard enough? Am I successful enough? And there is this constant sense of comparison that I feel that maybe this younger generation feels as, as a result of the access to information that we have. And I feel that that definitely is, at least I speak for myself, making me a lot more anxious about what I'm doing in my life and whether I'm matching those expectations that society has from a young person today.
So Ananya, where do you guys think you can draw the line? Because I'm sure these are active conversations, not just in your DMs and cars and friends. It's also with your parents, I suppose, right? This tendency to self-reject as a young person, saying, oh, you know what? This person just posted from somewhere else and they got a new job and I'm just useless, right? Yeah. So how do you deal with that?
I think taking from what Navya said, this whole thing of comparison is a huge problem. Yeah. And I'm surely like a victim of it. Like, victim is the wrong word. I'm surely still learning how to not do that. I think a lot of it, again, comes from just going back to love, self-love, which is so important, right? And I think as soon as we begin to, I'm 29, and I think the early 20s for me personally was so different from my 27, 28, 29. And I'm really looking forward to my 30s. I think it happened for me at this age, but as soon as you begin to understand more of yourself, as soon as you begin to understand sort of the role that you have in the world, and as soon as you become more comfortable in your own skin, I think that negative self-talk sort of starts reducing. But I 100% struggle with this, am I good enough? Very, very often. I would have had a packed day with like a morning workout, a board meeting, a couple of more meetings, a studio session, and then probably some like a social thing, for like work. And then coming back home late at night after like this long day, feeling completely overwhelmed, saturated, and I still ask myself, am I doing enough? What more could I possibly be doing, right? So that's when your rational mind has to kick in, and I have to be like, what is wrong?
Cut yourself some slack.
Yeah, I'm probably I probably should rest more, So I think we have to all just individually be conscious of ourselves and just keep a tab on what we are doing a little bit more.
One final question to the two of you. If you could change something specifically for youth today, what would that idea of India be for you?
If I could change something, I think I would say that I would definitely want the youth to be represented on a lot more platforms and a lot more decisions that we make today as a country, or just even in business, or whether it's in entertainment, or whether it's in boardrooms, or even, whether it's in politics, whether it's in entertainment, whatever, across fields. I feel that I would hope that there is more representation. I feel that, we are a very large percentage of the population, and we are the next 30, 40 years is going to be us driving a lot of things in the country. And I would want us to be active decision makers and creators in that journey. So I would hope that we are given a lot more opportunities to voice what we want and voice what kind of an India we want to live in. So that's something I maybe would want to change.
What is the kind of India Ananya Birla wants to live in?
I think as an economy, we're doing really well, kudos. What I would wish, literally for anybody in any country, would be that no matter where the person is born, what religion the person comes from, who the person loves, what work the person does. Everyone is given an equal amount of love and respect and acceptance.
A choice to make the choice. Right, thank you very much for being with us here. I hear that we won't let you go from this stage without singing 2 lines. So that would be lovely for Navya and I and the rest of us to be spectators too.
So this song is this song is called Teri Meri Kahani. It's a Punjabi song. It was my first Punjabi song, and it did relatively okay for an indie artist. So I'll just sing that, I guess. It goes like this. तेरी मेरी कहानी लगती है आसमानी वे तू पलवीना अब मेरा हाथ छाड़िए जीना तेरे नाल सिख जावा. That was a cappella without any warm-up.
That's brilliant. And we can say that again. A big round of applause. Thank you very much.
Ideas of India. Yeah, Ideas of India.
ABP Network's Ideas of India.